It has well, more or less the intro part, a large intro part, and then actually the song starts. Was it also uh, immediately written this way, or did you combine two parts of songs that you?
It wasn't necessarily two parts. It's with the way that I write in my head, and I don't play an instrument, and I usually don't bring it to Jack and Andrew until it's pretty far along in my
Mhm.
head. For example, We Are Young didn't sound too far off in my head than what it ended up being.
Okay.
Um, and the thing I went in with Jeff first. Just I had sang him the chorus of the song, and he immediately wanted to go into the studio, and Jack and Andrew weren't around, so he and I just went into the studio the next day, and I started singing to him, and I kind of showed him how, like, my songwriting process and stuff like that. And he's so used to being in the hip hop world where when he programmed the drum beat, it was very slow. It's the speed of the chorus
Yeah.
now. And I was singing along, and I realized, oh, shoot, the way that it's been in my head is the verse is a lot faster, and then you use that little break to go into the chorus. You kind of suck the air out of the room,
Yeah.
and so I had to go back and explain to this guy who I was basically like, I should have just let him do what he did, but I laid down my vocal for the verse, and I was like, oh no, it's got to be more manic. You've got to shift the tempo. You've got to make it faster. And he's like, what? He was like, how? But the songs are this tempo. That's what the chorus sounds good on. That's the tempo. And I'm like, no, that's not the tempo. And I'm like, I said, please just trust me. Just please trust me. Jack and Andrew, they're amazing. When we work on songs, and if I have a kooky idea like that, they just know, and Jeff does too now. But at the time, Jack and Andrew weren't there to be like, no, it's gonna work. Just trust it. So he very begrudgingly slowed or sped up the tempo, and then I was like, all right, now just slow it down right here when the piano breaks,
Yeah.
and voila, like that, it worked.
Is it for you when you have a song in your head? Does it turn out on the album, or I mean, once you recorded it, does it turn out the way you had it in your head, or
I think it better. I think better, and I think that that's the
better?
element that
Yeah.
that Jack and Andrew add to it, because they add the things that I don't know yet. I might know a piano line here or there. I might know might know a guitar melody that should be somewhere, but it's the things that I don't know. Those are the things uh, that really make the song that much better, and for me exciting, because it's not just what I hear in my head.
Do you want to know how to do this, or is it for you? I just want to have the melodies, and please don't let me know everything how to do it technically.
No, I've tried to play an instrument. I've tried to do things, like, even if I'm trying to do things, I'm such a weird perfectionist about that type of stuff that I wouldn't be able to let it go. I don't think songs would ever get finished. And that allows me to kind of let it go, let things get finished a little more, not be trying to rewrite every single part.
But this means that you actually always have to have someone else to fill in the music.
Yeah, like I said, it starts out just trying to get it as much as it's off of my head. So there's a lot of music that I already hear,
Okay.
and then there's it's like, once it kind of gets to that point, then it's basically like, now make it better.
Okay. You said, well, it's actually not even, in your opinion, the best song on the album. What is? Or does it shift every day?
It kind of shifts every day,
Yeah.
which is a great sign. I've been listening to a lot of music on my iPod, like on shuffle, to where, I'd never done that before. I always just listened to albums specifically, but I really wanted to know about some of the lesser known songs on other albums, like a Dire Straits album or something like
Mhm.
that, and so I've been playing stuff on shuffle, and I get excited every single time a song off Some Nights comes on, like every single time. And One Foot is one that I'm always obsessed with. Between One Foot and Stars.
Why these two songs?
One Foot, because it has a certain raw energy to it. It's a bit sloppy. It was one where I had just the horn part. It's kind of stuck in my head, and I would keep telling Jack and Andrew like, wait till you guys hear this one. And the truth of it is, all I had was a horn part, and I just knew that once I got to singing over it, I was going to make it very, very like raw and very, very aggressive. But I didn't know what that was going to be yet. So when it after I finally committed to sitting down and writing something, it was just something that was just so exciting to get down. And at that point, we had already done most of the album, so we were kind of in a nice zone, and we had the opportunity to be kind of fearless when you do something like that. And that song sounds kind of fearless, so I like that. And with Stars, it was just a song that had been in my head for such a long time, even before we made the first Fun album, and doing the vocal recording in the studio with Jeff. It was just, I don't know, probably my favorite moment ever in like recording a vocal.
Why?
Because it was all improvised in the very end of the song, and it was on the auto tune, which is great for figuring out melodies, but I thought that it'd be cool to do something that felt like Van Morrison in space.
Yeah.
Or Van Morrison in the future. And so I thought, like, throw on the auto tune and let me just do my best Van Morrison improvising, and that's what it turned out to be.
You said the song actually was around in your head before the first Fun album. One thing that annoys me. Still have to do something like that. You said that. Yeah, no, it's properly. You said the song wasn't around. How come you weren't actually ready to finish this song on this album and not on the first album or even?
I didn't think it was ready. I didn't think it was. I always knew that I wanted it to be Van Morrison in space, and the first album we weren't there. We weren't there yet. We were still trying to figure out who we were. So, I knew that wasn't who we were at the time. That we would have to get there for that song. I mean, and that's the cool thing about making albums and not just writing a bunch of songs and throwing them on a CD is there's a place for something, and it has to fit somewhere.
Yeah.
And I always knew that would be the last track of an album. And that's probably the song that I've had floating around in my head for the longest amount of time that I finally got to record. And what was cool about that was one that Andrew, I was kind of unsure about it because I knew that it was going to be the work to get the song where it was going to be it was going to take a lot of work. And with the album, we didn't have a lot of time to make the album. So I was like, all right, well, we'll see if we have the time to end up doing it. And Andrew was very adamant about like, no, I'll put the whole entire thing together, and then you guys can just because I think Jack and I were working on something else in the studio, and so Andrew went into another studio and just made sure that the song happened, and like I'm very grateful that it did.
You said in your head you are already busy with laying out things for the new album. How does this work? What do you think about it? What?
You think about what the first song has to be like. Yeah. If you're you have to think about it like a listener, and you have to think about it as if everything's a continuation. So if it's almost like a continuation from where Stars left off on the last album, you have to look at it like what is going to be exciting, what's going to be progressive, and lyrically what do you have to say to follow that up. And you start that with the first song, and then you maybe think about the last song of the album, and then you fill it in between. And I've thought about the first song. I know what that's going to be all about. I don't know what the last song is going to be all about, which is exciting because that just shows how much potential there is for the album. But I think I have songs 5 and 6, and I don't think that I've ever been as excited. This is my first time seeing Jack and Andrew in a few weeks because we've been off from tour, and I had to tell them just about the songs that I've been working on.
So you have the first song, 5 and 6. You have 5 or 6 songs in total.
I'd say I have 3 or 4 concepts.
Okay.
A couple that are songs.
And when will you be recording?
Probably not for a while. Probably in about a year, I would assume.
Okay, so maybe next year a new album then.
Next year, new album for sure.
Okay. Thank you for your time.
Yes.
Thank you.